Today we're going to be combining two of my favourite things in life, animals and Dutch door journal setups. We're going to create a pet log Dutch door. So in the Dutch door, we're going to have a page for every one of your pets where you can record all their important stats, maybe add a photo so that you can keep track of everything you need to do to look after them. If you haven't come across our channel before, my name is Jo and I am the founder of Upsadaisy. We are a UK-based stationery business that specialises in journaling and planning supplies. So for the structure of this spread, it will be a vertical Dutch door. And what that means is I'm going to remove the outside edge of the page so that within that spread there will be a section that is visible on the back page of the Dutch door that is visible regardless of what internal page I'm viewing. The function of that for this is going to be a place for us to add tabs so that you can navigate throughout the collection. But having it as a vertical Dutch door also kind of groups all those pages together nicely and makes it really clear that they're part of one overriding use. So for this reason, it'll be a pet log. So I've measured in 2.5 centimetres from the outside edge and I've drawn a pencil line to mark out where I'm going to cut. And then I'm cutting those page edges off with my scissors. I do always hold on to those little page edges because they're really handy for covering up mistakes in your journal or perhaps adding in as a little flip out in a future spread. With the pages cut off, I'm then going to grab my washi tape, and this is our Muddy Paws washi. And I'm using that just to decorate the page edge. And I like to do that to just really make a feature of the Dutch door. So I'm covering up both page edges on both sides. And I'm also adding it to the back page so that you've got kind of a consistent theme going on with the design. And once I've got all of those trimmed up, I'll go ahead and do the same on the reverse of the pages so that our cut edges are nicely decorated and we're ready to go ahead and start creating the cover page. So within this Dutch door setup, there will be a cover page and there will be internal pages. And the function of the internal pages will be to include all of the important information about the animals. But the cover page is really to just give a focus for what this collection is going to do. So I'm going to add in tabs for the number of pets within the Dutch door. And add a striking motif of like a paw print. If you don't have pets with paws, perhaps you might want to switch it up and have, I don't know, something reptile based or fish based, trying to think, bird based, whatever the pet is that you're including within the Dutch door, you might want to have that feature on the front page. In order to make my cover page, I'm going to be using our Perfect Paws Classic Stencil and the craft paper that is included within the Pet Log Dutch Door Journal Project Kit. And I'm tracing out the large paw motif onto the craft paper so that I can then cut that out again using my craft scissors. I have drawn it on in pencil and I have flipped it so that I'll be using the reverse side of it so that you won't see any pencil lines, even if I'm not particularly accurate with my cutting. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut these shapes out. You don't need to be super accurate because the shape of a paw kind of lends itself to being slightly wiggly. So all of those 4 little paw pads are going to go onto this main page. And then what I will do is add a title underneath that just to mark out again what this collection is. I'll be using craft paper all the way through this spread to decorate the tabs as well, alongside the square grid scrapbook paper that come within the project kit too. So I'm just sticking in the paw and I'm just using the stencil for reference as to which toe goes where. And I'm using the dot glue roller that again comes within our journal project kit to stick that in. The reason I like the dot glue roller is because it dries instantly, so it's a really nice glue to use within your journal. Doesn't leave everything sticky, doesn't make a mess. So I'm adding in a title and I'm using the Blossom font, which is one of my favorites, to just add in a title here, along with a Pigma Micron 04 pen, which is my favorite pen to use with stencils. And I'm just going to add the middles in, which are on the bottom of all of our font stencils, and making lettering really easy in your journal. And now it's time to create those tabs. And again, I'm using the Perfect Paws Classic stencil, and I'm just drawing out circle shapes onto the craft paper because the tabs are going to be circular. So cut each of those out, and again, you don't have to be super neat, but try and stick to the lines if you can, just so that they match up. And you're going to need 2 circles for every tab you create, because we're going to stick a reverse side on as well, just to neaten everything up. We're going to kind of sandwich the page between the 2 circles. So once I've got those circles cut out, it's just a case of, again, drawing out the paw print, but this time I'm going to be drawing out the paw print onto the white grid paper that comes within the kit. And once that is drawn and cut out, which is a little bit more fiddly because it's a smaller motif, that will be stuck onto the tab, and that's going to act as the decoration for the tab. If you don't want to do this, you could also write the animal's name, or perhaps put a photo of the animal if you wanted to. Lots of different ways you could decorate these tabs, but I quite like the overarching theme of paw prints within this whole spread that ties the whole thing together. I'm going to be including 3 pets. If you follow any of our social media pages, you probably will have seen Freckle, who is my very tiny dog. I also have 2 cats, Flora and Elvis, so they'll all be featuring in my pet log spread. Now, again, once I've got all of those little pieces cut out, it's just a case of gluing everything down. So there's a lot of cutting and gluing in this setup, but I think it's really effective once you have it done. Makes quite a striking spread. And fun fact, if you didn't already know, within the team of 4 of us at Upsadaisy, 2 of us have worked as registered veterinary nurses, myself and Kate. We're all animal lovers, which is why you'll see a lot of animals feature across our ranges. So if you are also an animal lover, perhaps go check out some of our animal themed designs. We have a whole dog and cat range. Lots of our subscription boxes have animals in. It's definitely a permanent feature for us at Upsadaisy. So the little paw print is now on the circle, and it's just a case of adhering it then to the page edge. So I'm going to add glue to half of that circle, stick it into place on the first Dutch door page, and then stick glue on the whole of the second circle and adhere to the back. And there is your first tab. And then all I've got to do is basically repeat that process twice in order to do my remaining 2 tabs. On the very back page, you'll notice that because I've only got 2 internal Dutch door pages, I am making 3 tabs because it makes sense for me, because I've got 3 animals. So the back one will go almost like a faux tab, and will be stuck onto the back page fully. And that's just to give some symmetry to the spread setup. And the fiddly bit is cutting out all of these little mini paws, but it doesn't take long, especially because I've sped up the video. So lucky for you, you don't need to watch me cut these out in real time. The actual video before I started editing, just so that you're aware, I think was about an hour and a half long. So this whole setup took an hour and a half, and that included some faffing about because I was filming what I was doing. So I'd say it's a definite 1-day make if you wanted to build this into your journal. A nice afternoon doing some cutting and sticking is a pretty mindful thing to do as well. I really enjoy anything that involves this sort of scrapbook style. For me, it's a nicer way of adding colour to my spreads than colouring in. I always feel disappointed with anything I've coloured in. Maybe it's because it's not even, I don't know. But yeah, the scrapbook style is definitely my preferred way of journaling. So 3 little more toes to cut out, and then we've got the structure of the Dutch door set up. And then we have to go about making the internal pages, which is where we will record all of the information about our pets. And if you have purchased the Pet Log Dutch Door Journal Project Kit, which has got all of these goodies in it, You will also have a link to a Canva template, which will help you size your pet photos so that they fit inside of the pet log spread. So if you're wanting to do that, hop over to the web resource that is included within the Petlog Dutch Door kit, and you'll find access to the Canva template, which is really easy to use, and you can sign up for Canva without paying anything. It's a nice way of making sure that your photos are sized appropriately. So now we're going to go ahead and make those internal pages. And for that, I'm going to use our Petlog Super Easy stencil. And within this stencil, you'll find that we've got a notes box at the bottom of the page, which is what I'm drawing now. There is a photo box, which is, it speaks for itself, where you can add a photo of your pet. You could also draw a picture of them if you prefer. And then these little dots that I'm drawing out now, this is where we intended you to record treatments for your pet. So preventative treatments like flea treatment or worming treatment. So there's 12 there, so a whole year's worth. And what I've done on the second row down, you can see, is that I've only drawn every third box. And that is because the worming treatment I use for both my dogs and my cat is a quarterly treatment. So I've just dotted in every third box to remind me that I need to do that quarterly. And the other two things will be their flea treatment and also nail clips for Freckle. So once all that's added in, I'm going to add some titles. And again, I'm using the Blossom font. So I'm going to left space at the top of each page for a nice big title for each of the animals. And then on the very back page of this setup, I've got one spare page, which I'm going to use for notes. So I can add in any additional things, perhaps insurance claims or anything else that I've got going on. In the section of each of these individual spreads in between the photo and the notes box at the bottom, this is where I'm going to create an area where I can record their insurance details, their date of birth, when their last vaccine was, so the kind of big stats, I guess. And the notes box I'll use for things like allergies or medications they happen to be on, anything else I need to note about them. For Elvis, that might be how naughty he is. He is a very excellent cat, but he's a very naughty cat. And as I said, I'm just changing this into a notes page, and I'm colouring all of the text in black just to make it really stand out against all of the other things that are on the page, which I'll go through and do in a second. It's quite easy to colour this font in. It's quite a nice chunky font, which is why Blossom is one of my favourites. It's not a very stressful font to use. It doesn't have to be exactly lined up, and it still looks really nice and effective on your page. So yeah, definitely one of my favourite fonts. It's taken over. Cherry I used to use all the time, and I think now Blossom is probably my go-to for most of my journal setups. So just adding in the colouring there, and we are close to being finished. Just a few titles that I need to go through and add. So I'm adding in what each of these trackers is for each of the animals. So fleeing and worming and nails for Freckle. And then I'm going to add in the months of the year down the left hand side, again just so that it's really easy to see when their flea or worming is due. And again, I need to do the same thing for Elvis, and I've done it in kind of age order. So Freckle and Flora are about the same age, and then Elvis is the youngest, so he comes last. And then I'm just putting a space, as I said, to record their breed, date of birth, vaccine and insurance details. So I've got all of that logged within my journal setup. I love this spread. It's definitely one of my favourites that I've created for a long while. Last thing to do is just to go through and colour in that text, and through the magic of editing I can hop through and do it quite quickly, so you haven't got to watch each individual letter be coloured in. And then it'll be time for the final flick through. I really hope that you've enjoyed this setup. I hope that there's lots of animal lovers within our audience, and if you'd like to see me do different spreads to the regular kind of weekly and monthly setups, then pop a comment below. Please take a moment to just hit subscribe on the channel if you've enjoyed what you've seen today. It definitely helps the channel get seen by the right people, and it makes me know that you're enjoying what you're seeing. And here it is, the final setup. This is the Pet Log spread. How cute is that? I love the craft paper and the grid paper combination and the little paw print washi. I'm going to go ahead and add pictures of my animals afterwards. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you again very soon.